Hi there, and welcome to another exciting session of training provided by Quicksoft. In this chapter, we're going to cover another interesting topic, which is split expenses. Splitting the expenses while submitting expense report is a very common need which is required by many organizations who have operations in multiple business units, multiple countries, multiple legal entities. So they sometimes do a common expenditure, and while submitting expense report, they want to have the ability to split it across multiple cost center or entity or different level of splitting requirements. Okay, so we are going to cover all this in this chapter. Just want to update you guys that we are available on YouTube, Udemy, and also we are available on Teachable, where we have subscription based model where you can subscribe for yearly subscription and you can learn at your own pace. Okay, so now let's start the splitting of expenses chapter. Now, what does the splitting allows you? As I mentioned earlier, splitting allows you to split your common expenses across multiple projects. That could be one example. If you are using Oracle projects and then you have a common expenditure like telephone, which you are using for multiple project needs, but now when the telephone bills which you're claiming, you want to split it across multiple projects based on the usage which you have for certain projects. You can do that. You can also split, when you're splitting this, you can split by specific percentage or you can split by amount. End result is same. Ultimately, system calculates the amount, but it's just an ease of entry which you can do. You can split by percentage or by amount. You can split at expense report level or at expense line level. Yeah. So there is no option called split at expense report level as such. But if you have 10 expense report lines and then you select all those lines and then you choose split, then whatever formula you give, whatever ratio percentage you give, it will apply that to all the lines. And after that, if you have a need for few lines, you want to have some change, you can go to that line and adjust it accordingly. This is just again an ease of data entry, a convenient way of doing faster data entry and faster splitting of the information. Yeah, so these are just some of the features which organization need to have the split expense functionality. Now let me show you how can you enable and what kind of enabling features are available. Now when you talk about split expenses, first thing you need to enable is enable split allocations to yes in system option. In our system option chapter, we have covered that. So you can just go to the section and enable it split allocations. Once that is done, even if after doing that you try to go to expense report, you will still not see that because there are still additional setups which you need to enable. Yeah, to allow, if you want to allow the users to be able to split against multiple project tasks and organizations, yeah, then you should assign a privilege called allocate project expense. Now if you want to allow this to everybody, then maybe whatever employee role you have, you can attach this privilege to that particular employee role. That means that after that, to whichever user that employee role will be assigned, they will all get this privilege. But if you don't want to give it to everybody, then what you can do, you can actually create a role, a custom role, yeah, and then assign. It's just a skeleton role which you can create. I will show you that role shortly. You can create that role and assign this privilege, allocate project expense, and then save that role and then assign this role only to the users to whom you want to give that particular privilege. This was the project related. Now if you want to allow allocation to multiple accounts, yeah, so then similar to projects, you have to assign this privilege over an expense account allocation. Now expense report account allocation, you can do the same approach. You can assign it to the employee role if you want to give it to everybody, but if you want to give it to only specific people, then you can assign this privilege to a new role and then assign that role to whichever user you want to have this. Once you do this, it will allow user to change company code and cost center as needed. Yeah, account will come from the expense item which you have, and all the other segments will be derived from employee setup which you have defined in the employee. Yeah, so this will allow you to have that facility. Now what if you have 10 segments in chart of account and you want to have an option that I should be able to change any segment as needed? Yeah, because so far I've talked about project, I've talked about company and cost center, but what about rest of the segment? Generally, I've not seen many organization practice that, because then there can be a lot of variety of entry done by the end user, which may not sometimes meet your analytical requirement. So that when you have the expenses booked, you may find users have entered a variety of data which may not be accurate enough. As I said, this is not practiced by many organizations, but if you really want, let me show you that option to allow full account override. Yeah, so if you want to allow the user to have the ability to allow the full account override, then you need to do this setup. There's a profile option. You can go to manage administer profile option and set this exam allow full account override to yes. Yeah, I'm going to show you all these options so that you understand. Yeah, just want to explain it first, and then you run the retrieve latest LDAP changes, because after you make this change, and if you try to see in your user, you will not see this any change unless you run this particular program. And then after that, wait for 10 minutes for synchronization to finish. Once this is done, log out and log in to see full account override visible in create expense item sheet screen and also in the split allocation page. So these are a few options which you can use to have the split account functionality. Now I'm going to show you all this in action one by one. Okay, so let's see it in action in the system. So first we'll look at how to enable system option. So for that I will go to manage expense system options. Here if I want global level, I can say enable split allocation to yes. That is one option I have. But if I want specific to business unit, then I can choose no here, for example, and then I can go to specific business unit, go to edit, and then I can say enable split allocation yes at a business unit level. So you have an option to do it global if it is a global thing which you want to enable, but if you want to make it local, then you can at particular business unit level you can enable this setup as needed. Okay, so first step is to enable at system option level for the expenses. I have already enabled at split allocation here. I will complete that and then I will go to next step. Next step is to allow whether project allocation or expense allocation. To do that, let me show you what I have done. This is my user ID which I use for my expense entry. I have assigned this role override expense account allocation. Let me show you this role. So what I did was let me just show the role first so that you understand. This role I've created. Inside this role, if I show you, there's nothing, only one privilege. Only one privilege, override expense account allocation. So what I created was, I did a skeleton role creation and then I just added that particular privilege to this particular role and then I saved it, nothing else. So once this role is created, then I assign this role to my employee. As I explained earlier, if you have this particular facility, if you want to give to all your employees, yeah, by default employee role does not have this facility privilege. I could have just whatever employee role I have here, I could have assigned this to this particular employee role. Then I don't need to do this separately, but that means then this role is given to everybody. Yeah, then everybody will have this option. So depending upon your business need, choose whether you want to create a role separately. I feel this role, unless this is given to everybody, this role is very useful. I can assign it to whosoever I need to assign to. Okay, so this was for the expense allocation. So if you want to allocate project related expenditures, so you look for the role or privilege allocate project expenses, and similarly as I shown you, you create a skeleton role and then assign, just choose this privilege and then assign that particular role to a user. Yeah, let me just show you one example of skeleton role which I'm talking so that you all understand. So what I will do, I'll create a new role. I'll go to create role and then I'll give a name allocate to projects. Financial job roles. You can put same description, and after that I just have to add a privilege here. Allocate project cost. Then I assign this. Done. After that I go to next. You will notice all this is already coming as the role hierarchy. Then I go to users. I will assign this to my user, QS EMP. it is assigned to the user, and then I next, I just save and close. So now the role has been created. Now if I go to my QSEMP, so this has been assigned to my QSMP user. Yeah, so this user will be able to do splitting by projects. Now we have seen how to do the splitting by expense enabling, splitting by projects enabling. Now let's look at see how can we enable if you want to split the or you want to change the complete combination of chart of account string. To do that, I'm in setup, and then I will go to profile option which I want to change. I go to search, then I search for manage administer profile values. Here I will search for EXM allow full account override, and at site level, user level, wherever you want to set it, you can set it. Here I'm setting it yes at the site level. So once this is done, that's the step one. After that, what you need to do is an important step. You need to run this program, run user and role synchronization process. Yeah, this retrieve latest LDAP changes. Let this program run. It will synchronize the roles and everything. And after this program finishes, wait for 5-10 minutes, and then you need to log in and log out. And then when you go into application, you will see the user is able to change the full account string as needed. So we have seen the setups. Now let me show you how this happens in action. Okay, now let me go to my expense module. So I've logged in as a QSEMP user now. So now let me show you if I look at my old trip which I had. Now for splitting, if I want to split at the report level, I select everything. Then I say split allocation. Now because I have enabled account and project both, system is asking me what do you want to split. Yeah. So if I say by project, then whatever I give, it will apply to all the items which are selected. Now if I choose by account, so what now I have enabled full account override. See, now full segments are visible. If I disable that, only these two will be visible. Yeah, one of the questions asked in one of the implementation was, even though system shows both, what if the user doesn't want, the system administrator does not want the end user to be able to change the entity code? Yeah, what can we do? Yeah, so the only option is if you want to do that, you have to do a sandbox customization of this particular screen where it shows, then you have to hide that if you're only showing these two. If full account, then you cannot do that, but if you're only showing these two segments, then you can hide that particular field in the sandbox customization. Yeah. Now here the split is for all the item which you have. You can use by percentage or you can use by amount, depending on what you give. Yeah. So percentage system will calculate, or then you enter the amount if you are very sure of the amount, or if you enter percentage, system will calculate amount. So this is nothing special, but just a convenient way of calculation. I can give one combination here, one combination here for the allocation. Now this was for the whole report. Let's say I don't want the whole report, I just want a specific line. Then you can select the line and then choose particular allocation. Now this is only allocating that particular line amount which we want to allocate to as needed. Okay. Now let me split this particular expenditure to multiple ones. Let me go to split account, and then I change this one, and I say I want to split this to cost center 30. Apply. Once you do the split, there is an icon appearing in front of the amount that shows that there is a split. Yeah, so you know there is some allocation done to this line. So if I go back to my allocation, now the sign changes to update allocation if you want to, because you have already done some allocation. Now I can see this is my allocation. If you don't want split anymore, you can remove it. But if you want to keep it, you can have it, or you can change it. You can add more lines, yeah, as needed. Yeah, see now once I put third line, it automatically split by percentage, because I'm saying percentage split. But you can always override. Say you can say 50 to this line, and you can say 25. I can still override these two as needed. Okay. Now this is how you can do, and you can save this information. Another important point, you also see these two buttons here, apply project and apply account. Yeah. Now what do these do? Yeah. So let me just select this line again. This is for updating allocation. Now let me go to this new line which has not been split so far. Now what is system telling you? It will show you your recently used project information. Currently I have not defined any projects in my business unit, so nothing is appearing here. But if I have, it will show me recently used one, because the idea is most of the time you are just using repetitively same information. So why do you want to enter? System will show you the list of value to choose. Now this can be seen in the apply account, because if I click on this, these are the various frequently used accounts I have. Yeah, so if you have used something recently, here I used the 30 just now for the previous line. Now it is appearing here. Like if I want to do here also same thing, I can apply that account here. Yeah, so depending upon your need, you can do that accordingly. If you want to do individual lines, you can select and do that. But if you, let's say for these two lines, I want to apply a particular account. Yeah, so I come here, then I can say apply account. Let's say I put this combination. Now I save it. Once I save, if I try to inquire this combination, I should see the complete account string is as per the change which I have done. Yeah, for the previous line also it should be same. Yeah, see, it is same. Another thing which I've noticed, I don't know whether it's a bug or I still don't understand the functionality. So if I click on this, I can see the account code is already updated to this cost center. Yeah, so but let's say if I want to split it further in case, so I select that line and I say I want to do split allocation by account. It still shows me 20, which should not be. It should have picked whatever is changed. I actually close the screen, saved and inquired again, still it does same. I am not sure why it is still picking up same. It should be picking the 30 which I have already changed, because at the account level it is showing that, but somehow in this screen it is not showing that. So be careful on that when you're using this functionality. It looks like a bug to me. Maybe they'll fix it in future. So these are the various features which you can understand from split functionality perspective. If you have not enabled any of those, all these three buttons will not be visible to you. Yeah, all the setup which I've explained to you in my presentation earlier. If you have not done all the setup, then these three will not be visible. If you have not enabled full account override, then in this screen when you come, only company and cost center will be visible. These segments will not be visible. Even same in the split allocation screen also, all those segments will not be visible. Yeah, but now I have enabled full account. That is why I can see the full account. Okay, that's all I wanted to explain to you guys regarding the expense report split functionality. Just to recap, in this particular chapter, we have learned how to use the split account functionality available in the system. I've shown you how to enable that functionality, because if you don't enable certain aspects in the application, you will not see that functionality in action when you try to create expense report. So enable, we have seen how to do the system option. Yeah, you have to set split allocation yes at entity level, particular global or business unit level. You can also allow, if you want to allow project level split, then you can create a new role as I shown you an example, and then assign this privilege, then assign this role only to the user who should have that. But you can also assign to the employee role if you want this feature to be available to all. Similarly, if you want to allow expense allocation, when this account expense allocation privilege is assigned, then the user will be able to change company and cost center. Yeah, these are two segments which are available to change, which they can, if depending upon what is available. But if you want to allow full account override, then you change this profile option, then run this program, and then after that you will see the user will be able to change the full chart of account string. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and happy learning.